Welcome back to America Decides. There are several reports President-elect Trump has not yet submitted a legally required ethics pledge vowing to avoid conflicts of interest after taking the oath of office. According to the Presidential Transition Act, this pledge was required to be submitted by October 1st. Max Stier joins us now to dig into all this. He is the founding president and CEO of the Partnership for Public Service. It's great to have you with us. How big a deal is this?
A very, very big deal. As you noted earlier, the transition is fundamental to the safety of our country. It is the handoff of power, and at the point of handoff is when our enemies abroad and other risks are most prominent. So doing this right is really critical to, again, keeping us safe and, frankly, also to the ability of a new administration to fulfill its promises from the campaign trail.
And Max, how about what we are told is a reluctance of President-elect Trump to do anything about his business holdings this second time around?
Well, look, again, I can't look into the transition operation and know for sure. But as you say, it's been reported that this is the sticking point. The reality is that transition activity is still private activity, but it's fundamentally so close to governance that making sure that there's transparency about who's involved and how the process is run is fundamental. This question of conflicts of interest is really critical to make sure that the people who are in an administration are there looking out for the public good and not their private interests. And I think the same issue applies to the President of the United States.
Max, I read with interest an op-ed piece you had in The Hill talking about the confirmation process of cabinet designees and others who serve in the administration. You had some eye-popping numbers that those subject to the Senate confirmation process number 1,300, that the process takes much longer than it used to and gobbles up more time than actual legislative votes. Walk me through some of that.
Absolutely. So, again, there are about 1,300 of the 4,000 political appointees that a president makes that require Senate confirmation. I will add that 4,000 is more than any other democracy out there. Most democracies count political appointees in tens, not in thousands. It's a vestige of the spoil system. But the 1,300 is a huge number as well, and the Senate hasn't been successful in getting through that number in any real-time measure. And it means that they lose power, and the executive winds up with acting officials rather than people who are full-time confirmed. I have to say that the proposition that President-elect Trump has made that the Senate should simply allow him to put his people through recess appointment is actually not the answer. The Constitution gives the Senate the very important responsibility of making sure that people who are appointed have the competence and character to be good appointees. So the better way is actually to make sure that only the top people require Senate confirmation. You could reduce that 1,300 by a lot and still not take a very bad road of recess appointments.
Max, I'm glad you brought that last point up because it's occurred to me that Senate Republicans who are kind of waffling around this question of recess appointments have within their ability to say to President-elect Trump, look, we're trying to make your nominees stronger by having them go through the confirmation process, not weaker, and hold the position on a temporary basis through a recess appointment.
Well, there's certainly that. And, it's the fundamental core of our system. We have a separation of power system. The framers were very clear. They did not want the president to have unlimited authority. They wanted to make sure the Senate would be a check to ensure that the people who are leading government agencies were, in fact, of good character and great competence. That's the Senate's job. And they'd be stepping away from that if they permitted recess appointments here. Again, there are things that should be done to fix the system. This is not one of them. You mentioned earlier the desire of President-elect Trump to shake things up. There's a big difference between shaking and breaking, and recess appointments would be breaking.
Indeed. Max Stier, thank you very much. Appreciate the time.